Hey everybody, this is Drew. Trying to make more videos for you guys, so I just thought I'd update on something that was on my mind. And that's kind of about living stealth, and how that affects my life, and so forth. But let's see, I kind of went stealth, I guess you could say. Well, basically what happened was I was living in Chicago, and then I moved to a new city, new state, um, and kind of started a life there, and I just didn't tell anyone. Wasn't a big deal. I moved here with my girlfriend, so of course she knows. Her family, I don't know if they know. It's not something we've ever talked about. I was about, I think, a year and a half, maybe 2 years into my transition at the time, so it was passable. Definitely not more comfortable now, and even though I passed, it was still kind of questionable. Like, well, I'm sure people wondered why I can't grow facial hair and that kind of stuff, but I still can't really grow facial hair. I just shaved the other day, though. I can grow more now than I could when I first moved here. How about that? But I've been living here for about 2 years, and it's been interesting. Having been here, I think I've only told a select number of people that I was trans. At the first job I had when I was here, I ended up telling... I was working at Burger King, and I worked at 3 different Burger Kings as a manager, and only at the last Burger King I was at, it was over the course of a year, like just under a year I worked for them, and every few months they'd transfer me to a different store, and it was the last manager that, asked me about it, so she's the only one I talked with openly about it. I knew that the other ones probably knew because I had to tell the district manager when we were filling out my paperwork. They were doing a background check, and they asked if I ever went by another name. The part that kind of got me there, but luckily that didn't hinder their hiring me, so that worked out. But yeah, at this point it was not something they even asked about or said anything. They were just like, okay, and accepted it and went on. Who knows if they said anything that I didn't hear behind my back, but I didn't hear it, so I guess it doesn't matter. But I went from there, and I went to another job where now nobody knows that I'm aware of. I did, at one point, start friending people on Facebook, and I went through my Facebook, and I tried to hide everything trans about me, or actually, it wasn't even trans. I was trying to hide things that make me uncomfortable, like pictures of me from before pre-T, and all that, just because I don't like to look at them, and so I don't want anyone else to look at them. So I think that was pretty normal. But yeah, so now I'm working in an environment where no one knows, and if they do, it's not openly known that they know. And it's just kind of how it is. I feel no reason to tell them. Sometimes it gets a little awkward when they ask questions like, didn't you play sports when you were a kid? And I know plenty of guys don't play sports when they're kids, so I just say no, and that's fine. But sometimes I wish I could elaborate more, but then I realize that there really isn't a need to. In situations like that, or weren't you ever in Boy Scouts? And no, I'm not going to talk about how I was in Girl Scouts as a child. That's not something I want to talk about. So there's that. But yeah, what I found was really interesting, though, is I do have some friends here that are transgender, and so I was hanging out with them the other day, and there was 2 couples. There were 2 transgender guys and their girlfriends or wife, respective, however that worked. Respectively, I think was the word I was looking for. Ignore whatever I just said. Anyway, I was out with 2 couples that, one of them was transgender. One of each of the couples is transgender, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know why I spent so much time explaining that. And there were some other people there, but everybody knew that I was trans, because they had talked about me. And of course, the one couple who I'm closest with knows that I'm trans. And so we were there and talking, even though there were other people around, that it was what I'm trying to get at here, and I'm going way too much into this, is that it actually almost made me uncomfortable to be around people. No, it didn't make me uncomfortable. I can't find the right words, but it was kind of awkward. Like, when they would say something that was like trans related to me, and in response to me being trans, I would kind of be like, wait, why are you talking about that? Because I'm so used to not talking about it that even when I'm in an open and accepting environment, it's awkward for me to respond and to think of myself as trans, because living this way for about 2 years, I don't think of myself as transgender. I know I am, but I don't think about it. And sometimes I even forget that I'm any different, which may sound silly, but it's true. Like, I don't think of myself as a transgendered individual. I think of myself as a man, and this is my life, and that's about it. And so I just found it very interesting that when those trans topics came up, that I'm gonna say uncomfortable again. I wasn't really uncomfortable, but it was kind of like I was taken back by it, and I was like, "Hey, why are we talking about this?" Because I'm so used to not talking about it in my life, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. Because I guess like it shouldn't be that way. I should be comfortable talking about it and not talking about it, depending on the situation. But I guess that's something I just have to get used to. Like I said, I've been still for about 2 years, which in this long scheme of things isn't that long. But I'm also not gonna go telling people at this point, because I don't see the point. Um, like, like at work, there's no reason for me to tell everyone I'm trans, because then that just opens a topic of discussion that doesn't need to be opened. And that's how I feel about it. I'm not saying that's how everyone feels about it. If that's how you are and that's how you feel, that's great. However, for me, I don't want to talk about it at work. And I don't have that many friends here, so I don't really see people outside of work too much. I've got a couple of friends, but they know I'm trans, so not a big deal. But yeah, so I guess the whole point of this was it's very interesting to be stealth for a while, and then to be with a group of people that you can talk openly about trans-related issues or things or whatever, and it's just kind of like a culture shock. It's scary, though, because that used to be my culture. Like, when I was in Chicago, there was a whole group of, what was it? It was GenderWorks I used to go to, and it was this whole group of guys, and I just sat there and talked openly about it all the time. Or if I was at work, most people knew, so I could talk about things, and now I can't, so when the opportunity comes to talk about things, I kind of had to do a double take and be like, wait, is this really okay? But I think I dragged on too long for this topic, but that's all I really got for now, so I'm going to cut it off before I really start to bore you guys. Hope all is well, and yeah, take care.